Welcome back. I'm Calvin, Statue Fanatic, here with another review, and today we're going to take a look at another smaller scale figure. This, of course, is a figure of Marvel's flagship character, Spider-Man. This figure was produced by Gentle Giants as part of their collector gallery statue collection. And we'll do this review just like we do all the other reviews. We'll take a look at the packaging, and then we'll move on to the pose, the sculpt, the paint application design, and rate the statue and give you my overall opinions of the statue. So without further ado, let's get started with the packaging. Now, as far as the packaging is concerned, the box is pretty nice. It comes with artwork all around the box. It's actually photographs of the actual statue and some descriptions of what it is. Like I said, Gentle Giants from their Collector's Gallery statue series. And on the back of the box, it talks a little bit about this statue and about the scene that he's in hanging upside down from the light pole. Other than that, not a whole lot. In the box was also a certificate of authenticity indicating the number and edition of this particular statue, which was 1978 of 2000. Other than that, that's the box, so we'll take a look at the statue now. First of all, let's talk about the size of the statue. Like I said, it's a 1/8 scale statue. I haven't seen many 1/8 scale figures. It seems like an odd scale for a statue. I've usually seen 1/5, 1/6, 1/4 scale statues, but not 1/8. But this is a 1/8 scale statue. It stands approximately 14 inches tall from the bottom of the base to the top of the light pole. It's approximately 5 3/4 inches in length and about 5 1/4 inches wide. The statue is really cool looking. I think it's proportioned really well, and it fits really nicely in a detox. Now that we've talked about the actual dimensions of the statue, let's talk about the pose. Spider-Man is pictured here in a very, very iconic pose. There's not a whole lot you can say or ding the pose about because we've seen the pose so many times. Whether it's in print media like the comic books or it's in a movie, this is an iconic position to see Spider-Man in, especially after he has bagged the criminal or stopped the mugging. I think the only thing missing from this scene is him having some camera that's webbed up here so that he can take pictures to sell to the Daily Bugle. So with that said, let's move on to the actual sculpt and design of the statue. I think they did a pretty good job on the sculpt in many, many areas. First of all, it's not just a flat paint job here. The design on his costume is actually sculpted. On the red part of his costume, the black lines, they're all sculpted, really nicely done. The spider on the front of his costume, on his chest, that's also sculpted, as well as his mask and his eyes. All that is sculpted. It's really nice. It's not just painted on or anything like that. Really like that a lot. The webbing, sculpted. All the webbing that you see around his hand is actually sculpted detail. It's not just paint application, as well as the webbing that's going up to the top of the light pole. Now, what's interesting about the webbing that's going up from his hand to the light pole is that it transitions into a paint application that looks amazing. You can't even tell that it transitioned. When you look at it, it kind of looks like it's sculpted detail on the pole, but it's not. The base is sculpted in such a way that it looks very, very textured. It's a piece of concrete is the way that it's painted. And then moving on up to the actual pole right here, one thing I like to say about this, when I took it out of the box, it was pretty heavy for it to be such a small statue. So I was thinking that maybe the pole was actually metal, but I'm thinking, nah, it can't be metal. But there's some reasons why I thought that, and I'll talk about that when I get to the paint application. But I wasn't convinced that it wasn't metal because feeling it and things I couldn't tell. So I got a little nifty magnet out and started touching it around there. And of course, this is not metal, but boom, when I got here, this entire pole here is all metal. I thought that was pretty cool that they use real metal in this statue. And it doesn't seem like they had to do that, but it's pretty neat that they did that. Not only in the pole itself that there's metal in it, also the thing around the box here, this as well, metal. The magnet sticks on all of that around here. That's metal as well. So I thought that was a really nice touch. Now, when you look at the design of it and the sculpt of it, it's really nicely done as far as the pole. The bolts on it look really nice. And what I really like is the sculpt of the light fixture here. Not the light fixture, but the crosswalk box. That's pretty cool. As well as going all the way out here. It just looks, it's sculpted really nicely. So I have no complaints about the sculpt. I like it a lot. Now, I think where this statue really shines is the paint application, and I think that's what gives it the depth, the dimension, and the really cool look that it has. And we'll go back to the base when I say that. The base is textured really nicely, but it's shaded really nicely as well, giving it a very realistic, concrete look. The only thing about this is because it's on the corner in New York, I would think the street would be a little bit more grimy than this is. Maybe they could do, that could have been different, but other than that, it looks fantastic. One of the reasons why I thought this statue was the pole was part of it anyway, was metal, is because when I look at the paint application, which is what we'll talk about now, when I looked at the paint application, I could see at this pole where there were silver pieces here, where silver paint exposed or where paint had been scratched off. And so I'm like, wow, that looks like it might be metal. Lo and behold, this is not metal. It's actually resin here, but it's painted in such a way that it looks like it is. But when you move up to the pole, this part is metal. Again, very solid paint job here. A lot of shading and detail. Even in the grooves and crevices here, it looks grimy, it looks dirty, it looks like it should look if this was a actual street pole outside. And when you look at the light crosswalk thing here, on top of this box is a lot of dirt and grime. It looked really cool. I'm really happy they paid that much attention to detail. It does not look new or anything at all, which is kind of cool. And that type of detail continues all around here as far as the paint application is concerned. The very same thing with the shading that's on his costume. There's a lot of shading there that gives it some depth and dimension, as well as the creases and things like that that are on his costume. So I think they did a fantastic job with the paint application. I think that's where this figure actually shines, is through the paint application. And I mentioned here about the design and the sculpting here. Another example of really great paint application where it seamlessly transitions from the sculpt of the webbing to what's painted on right here. Love that a lot. It's pretty cool. Now, there's a really cool feature that's been integrated into this statue. It actually has a light up feature, and there are two areas of the statue that light up. When you push this button, the crosswalk lights up, as well as the lamp pole itself. They both light up. I think that is a really cool touch. And according to the description here, this is the first time that Gentle Giant has included any type of light up feature in any of their statues. So that was a cool touch. It seems like there was a lot of attention and a lot of love put into this statue from the sculptors. Now, I tried to find out who sculpted it, but it just gives the credit to Gentle Giant and their artist studio. So if some of you guys know who sculpted this, I'd love to know who the artist is as well. But I couldn't find that in the material, even online. So that pretty much concludes my review of the statue. So what I'd like to do now is rate the statue like I do with all of the figures that we do here. So the first thing I like to do is talk about the packaging. Like I say all the time, it did what it's supposed to do. If it does that and it gets the statue to you in one piece, and it protects the statue, that's an automatic 9. I really don't care what's on the packaging itself. A 10 comes into play when they go the extra mile, like when I reviewed the Sylvanas Windrunner statue with the incredible artwork that was on that. That would garner a 10 for me. But this is simply a 9, and that is only because there's just images of Spider-Man on the box, and there's nothing over the top extraordinary about it. So with this here, I give it a 9. Now, when it comes to the sculpt and design of the statue, I really like it. I think they did a great job with the sculpt and design of it, and especially including this really cool light feature, this light up feature of the crosswalk and the lamp. So I'm going to go ahead and give that a 10. Now, I think where this statue really shines is the paint application. It's really nice, and I mean, they did a fantastic job of being realistic and shading it and painting it in areas that should be painted and giving it the worn, tattered look or weathered look where it should have it. I think they did a great job with that. So the paint application, that's another 10. And when it comes to the value of the statue, this statue retails at Gentle Giant's for $179, but I've seen it online for quite a bit less, anywhere from $119 up to $179. So if you do some shopping around, you can get it for a really reasonable price. Putting the light up feature in the statue and then keeping it at this price point is a really big feat for statues, especially when the price is going up so much. So with that, again, I'll give that a 10. Now, if you're interested in staying on top of the latest news in the collecting world, please head over to mcecentral.com, your one-stop shop to find out what's going on in the world of collecting when it comes to pop figures, large-scale figures, small-scale figures, movie releases based on figures, you name it, you can find it over at mcecentral.com. You'll also be surprised to find some of your favorite internet and statue reviewers over there as well. So until next time, peace. Take care.